Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to tell you how to get into film school. So this particular video today is geared more towards high school students and transfer students who are already in college. So if you don't fit into one of those categories, that's fine. Leave some comments down below if you have any suggestions for those who are watching who are interested in transferring or getting into film school. Also, these tips can be used to apply to any school. It doesn't have to be film school necessarily, it can be for any program. These are just some very general tips to help you get started in the application process. So let's go. First off, the very first step is do your research. Figure out what schools you want to apply for and make a list. Decide which schools are going to be your top schools, your medium schools, and then your easy to reach schools. Basically, that means that you have your dream schools that are a little bit harder to get into, your medium level schools which you may or may not get into, but they're not as complicated or as difficult as the hard or dream schools. And then you have your easy schools, which might be your state or community colleges, which have pretty easy application processes, and they have a high acceptance rate. So your dream school may or may not actually be a really difficult to get into school, but if you're looking at harder schools like USC, NYU, UCLA, then you're looking at a lower percentage rate. For me, when I was going to a state school right out of high school, I think the acceptance rate was about 60%, so I was pretty much sure that I was going to get in. There's always the off chance that you may or may not get in, but that's why you have a long list of schools that you're going to apply to, so just in case you don't get into the ones you want to, then you have backups. Now, to quickly interject before I begin with all the application stuff, there's nothing wrong with having backup schools and going to your backup schools. That's exactly what I did to start out college, and I was really glad that I did because it's a great starting off point if you go to community college or to a state school first. As you will learn in this video, transferring is a totally viable option. A ton of people do it, and it's definitely worth it, I'd say. So basically, when you're researching schools, what I did was just type in like top film schools in the country, and then you can just pretty much look in any state. There's gotta be some school that has a film program there. If you're living in Arkansas or Kentucky or something, there might be a school there that has a film program that you could start out at, or if you're genuinely interested in staying in your home state, then you could definitely go through that program all 4 years. I'll make a separate video later on explaining which schools I applied to, which ones I was looking at, and then maybe you can look at those as well and see if they interest you at all. Step 1.5 is between step 1 and step 2. I just want to say that if you have the opportunity, go tour these schools that you were looking at because it makes a huge difference when you get a feel for the campus, when you get a feel for the student body and the facilities that you have access to. So if you're looking at schools in your state, go on a college road trip. I'm not kidding. I went on a college road trip to California when I was in high school, and it was great because I got to see all the schools that I actually wanted to go to and the ones that I didn't. And I ended up not applying to any of the schools that I went on my college road trip, but you know, at least I knew what I was getting with them, and at least I made the decision early instead of after the fact if I had gotten in and then I didn't end up liking the school. So your second step after you've made your list of all the schools that you're interested in applying to is figure out the application deadlines and dates. This is so important to stay organized and stay on top of this, and I know you're going to hear this from 1,000 people, especially if you're in high school. You'll be hearing this every single day and it gets so annoying. But I waited until the last minute to do all my applications in high school, and I think that really hurt me because I ended up not getting into the schools that I wanted to the first time around. So if you have your top schools listed on your big list of all the schools you're going to apply to, those are probably going to be the ones that you apply early decision to, which means that the application is going to be due way in advance. I'm not really sure what the timeline is right now for high school students, but I think when I was in high school, I had to do my early applications or early decision applications in maybe as early as November or maybe even October, I'm not positive, but that means that you're basically telling that school you are most interested in going there, that's more serious to you. So they look at those early decision applications first and they email that group of people first. So I think it's if you apply in November, for example, maybe you'll find out in February. So by then you'll know, okay, I have my dream school. If you get into it by February, then you're set. The rest of your high school or year or whatever it is will be so much more relaxed once you know where you're going. But if you don't apply early decision, that's also okay too. I think those applications are probably due around springtime, so probably this time of year, mid-February, maybe even early March, and then you'll find out right before the end of your school year whether you're in high school or in college already. So you'll find out basically right before the summertime, and then you'll have that period to decide which schools were my second choice schools that I have to decide from now that I want to get into or go to. So the next step after you have written your list of all the dates and everything for the application is to figure out what all the requirements are for each one of those colleges. Typically everything is different, and I'm sure you've probably already looked into this or people have already told you this by now, but if you're coming from high school, hopefully you'll get some help from a counselor on that. But if you're a transfer student, then you're definitely going to be a little bit more on your own on this one, since fewer people do transfer. So what I suggest is going on every school's website and going specifically to the program. So in this instance, I'm going to be talking about the film program and what you have to do for that. So you go onto the regular school's website, see what their application requirements are, and then there's a whole separate page for what you have to do to apply to the film program specifically. This is very important because you don't want to miss any of these steps, because if you do, then it's really going to hurt your application if you've got something missing. I had a horrible experience where I was applying to one film school and I submitted the application at 11:59 p.m. and it was due at midnight, and it required that I make a 3 to 5 minute long film, which I had done, but when I went to submit it at 11:59 p.m., it did not upload properly because I exported it incorrectly, and there was a huge technical issue, and I had to call the school the next day, and I was extremely stressed out, and it was a big disaster, and I didn't end up getting to that college, and that's probably why. So what I'm telling you now is don't do what I did. Stay organized. Make sure you understand what every piece of the application asks of you, and then go forward and do that. And it takes quite a long time to gather all this material. When I was applying as a transfer student, I did not wait till the last minute. I spent months writing these essays, getting help, workshopping with people, and spending the time to make sure everything was really, really good and sharp. You want to make sure it's clean, so when you go to submit it, you've got everything in line, and then you can just send it off and forget about it and feel comfortable and hopefully not too stressed about, what the decision is going to be. To interject again quickly, when I sent everything out at the last minute, I was terrified. I could feel that I had wasted a lot of my time, and I could feel like my applications were not as strong as they could have been. So just one last time, I'm just going to say don't wait till the last minute and stay organized. Also, to stay organized, make Google Docs for each different college application. So if you don't have a Google account, sign up for one. Get the docs, get the app on your phone, whatever, get it on your computer, type in the header each school, and then type out, this is exactly what I did, type out every bit of the application, like every header for every essay or whatever it might be, and then just start writing below that. And you can always come back in and edit later. You can share it with others, friends and family who want to help you edit that, and it makes the workflow a lot more smooth. Okay, so moving into part 4, which is going to get a little bit more specific, but still kind of broad. Again, this can be applied to any school you're applying to. So, on every college application website, basically, you type in application, blah, blah, blah. Like if you're interested in going to UCLA, you go on UCLA's website, you type in film application, it should pop up everything that you're looking for. What usually happens on these websites is that they'll list they'll have like a big paragraph, and you should definitely read that because there will be buzzwords in that paragraph explaining the program, and often they'll explain what they're looking for in students or what to expect from that program. Those buzzwords can help you. So when you go and look at what the actual application is, there'll probably be essay questions that say, what's your best quality? What project have you worked on that you were the leader of? Or what leadership position did you take on a film that you worked on? Something along those lines. That's not very specific. That's not an actual answer for UCLA. I don't know. I didn't apply there. But basically, if you see something like that, read that paragraph and it'll kind of give you insight. And I mean, obviously you can't lie and say like, yes, I am organized and yes, I am proficient in blah, blah, blah. Just be honest, look at those words and see how you can apply it to yourself and if you have any examples from it. And if you don't, then that's fine too. Just be aware that they are looking for specific types of people, basically. So when I was applying to NYU, I remember that they said that NYU is a very global campus. They try to, connect everyone from different cultures. So I wrote about how I was interested in working on a film set where I could be with everyone from all around the world working together. Okay, so I think this is part 5. Maybe I lost count. But basically the next step is to look and see if they require common application, which usually they do. I'm not going to get too much into that. It's been almost like 4 or 5 years since I had to do anything on the Common App. So just make sure you're submitting through the correct websites. I think for some film schools I had to go through SlideRoom, which allows you to upload whatever projects or portfolios you have that get sent directly to the college application reviewers or the people looking at your stuff. That brings me to my next point, which is the creative aspect of any film application. It is pretty much guaranteed that you're going to run into this. At least I did for all of my applications pretty much. So if you're going into a program, or if you're applying to a program that is all 4 years of your college, that means you're going to be starting freshman year. That means you're going to be applying to that film school right off the bat. So my problem with the state school that I went to, which you might also encounter, is that the film program started junior year, which is also the same case with UCLA. So make sure that you're looking at stuff like that. So if you're coming from high school, then you want to make sure that you're applying to the correct program, right? So you're going to be applying to the school itself, and then you're going to be applying to the program separately. If you're going in as a freshman, if you're going in as a junior and the program starts junior year, then that's what you're going to be doing. So it's going to ask you for creative samples. Now, some of them are a little bit more specific than others. I applied for Chapman University and they asked for a video about yourself or myself, but you couldn't be in the video at all. So that was a bit of a challenge. It had to be 3 to 5 minutes, so you have to shoot something separately that you can send in for that application. For NYU, I think they asked to send photos or videos or anything creative that you had done that you feel best exemplifies the work that you've done. So for that, I actually submitted I think it was about an 8 to 10 minute short film that I had made back in high school that was relevant to the requirements of it, and it didn't have to fit into any specific mold. It just had to be something that I thought was my best work that I wanted to show to them, and it ended up obviously getting me in. So you could film something entirely new for your application, or you could use something you'd done in the past, but I don't think it can exceed a couple of years, so it has to be something you did fairly recently so that they can see that you're still working, you're still doing stuff, and anything that's relevant. For my last little bit of information, I just want to say that getting into film school is not that tricky. Just use all these tips, honestly. Just make sure you are realistic with your expectations, aim high, aim low, everywhere in between. Do your best on the applications, spend the time to do it. Don't stress too much about your grades and your SAT scores. This is going to sound terrible. Everyone's going to tell you the opposite, but quite honestly, I was about middle ground for my SAT scores and my grades in high school. I retook the SAT my freshman year of college, and I still got the exact same score that I did for the first 2 times I took it, and I was terrified that that was going to somehow keep me from getting into film school. And I found out that it matters to have a good SAT score to an extent, but I mean, maybe it's different when you're coming from a college to a college as a transfer as opposed to coming from high school to college. But basically, if your grades are about A's and B's, your SAT score is about middle ground, I think you're going to be okay because you're not applying to a heavily academic program. They want to see that you're a proficient student and that you're not going to fail. And if you can prove that through the grades and through your SAT scores by being, pretty average or above average or whatever it might be, then that's great. I honestly felt like going to a state school first really helped me because I ended up getting really good grades at the state school I went to, and then showing them that yes, I could academically do well at college probably helped me get into a bigger or different university. So if that's your intent, then, don't stress too much about the grades, because after all, it is film school and you're not really going to be doing that much math and science and history and all that. So just, if it's something that you feel like you're not great at, or you're worried that your grades might stop you from getting into a good school, make up for it in your art. Prove to them that your passions are so important to you that that's why you deserve to go to film school, so that you can continue to learn not just about film, but to broaden your mind, to open yourself up to other opportunities that are out there. So those are all the tips that I have for today. Again, it's just very general. I hope this helped. I'm going to be releasing another video soon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, that talks specifically about what I wrote for my college applications and what that looked like in high school and what that looked like when I was transferring from freshman year to sophomore year and going to a different school. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe and also hit the little bell button so you get notifications every time I upload a video. You'll get a little text or an email about it, so you can be one of the first people to watch. I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!